Is right now the best time for you to buy an Nvidia or AMD GPU? I'm going to tell you if it is or not, and I think you're going to be very surprised at the answer. Let's get started. Hey guys, so today's video is sponsored by CDKdeals, genuine CD keys, not only for software like Windows 10, and we also have a coupon code where you're going to be able to get this for under $20. What you first want to do is go and sign up for an account just to make sure all of your information is in there. You can go and search for, it's going to be the Windows 10 Pro. It's OEM, very easy process. You add it to your cart and you're going to see that you're going to have the option to put a coupon code. You're going to put in CC20. That's my coupon code, and you're going to get 20% off. And then you just go through the regular checkout process. Basically, you just have to go in Windows. I'm going to show you how to do this now. You enter the CD key in there, and you'll see it's going to work without any issue. And for the price that you're paying, I really think it's a fantastic deal to get a real, genuine, smooth working copies of Windows 10. Hey guys, Tiago with Classical Technology here. Remember to smash that like button and subscribe. They say every time you do, you get a little crystal ball that tells you the exact moment that a store is going to get stock. All right, the question for today, very simple. Is right now, basically the end of June, we're going into July now, the best time to buy your GPU? I think the answer is going to be a little bit surprising. If you really have been following what's been going on since last year, you may be inclined to think that it really is a terrible time. We know we've had pretty much like the terrible shortages. The prices have been really bad, scalper prices. We've had even Nvidia resort to using LHR or Lite hash rate models that are now coming out. So you would think that there's really no skimmer of good news at all, but I actually think now might be a decent time. Maybe, of course, it's not going to be optimal. Like optimal would have been way back last year, maybe before these GPUs even came out with the previous generation. So optimal is something that's really off the table. I think right now may be one of the best times to buy a GPU, and I'm going to tell you why. First, if we look at what's been happening with stock and pricing, and we've talked about this ad nauseum ever since last year, the prices are going down a little bit. It's not like a massive difference. You can't expect to find them at MSRP, even in certain stores or secondhand, but there's definitely a pretty big trend going down. I'm going to tell you why. Basically, it's all connected to cryptocurrency mining and specifically Ethereum. A lot of people say that, okay, mining isn't really the issue here. It's more of like a secondary or even tertiary issue. There are other supply chain demands. But if we look at a graph of the Ethereum price in May when it went really high, GPU pricing was exactly like that, really high. And then we look at sort of what's going on now. The Ethereum mining is very quiet. There are going to be some changes coming in July. The mining profitability has dropped a considerable amount. And guess what? GPU pricing also dropped. They almost are symmetrical if you look at a graph of Ethereum pricing and the GPU pricing and availability. Now, it's not to say that you can easily find a GPU, but usually as a benchmark, as a base, a bellwether, if you will, I look at my local microcenter store, and knowing full well that not many people have a microcenter near them, especially overseas or in a lot of parts of the country. But in my opinion, I use it as a benchmark because if Micro Center has nothing, most of the time, even overseas and sort of online shopping also has nothing. But if Micro Center starts to get stuff in stock or it's staying on the shelves, pretty much that's going to translate to, worldwide and in different places. That's going to translate to a sort of a different scenario. So that's why I like to sort of use it as sort of a benchmark to see what's going on with the market. And as we mentioned a little while back, AMD GPUs were the first one to stay on the shelves. That's the metric that we're going to see for sort of pricing and availability. They stayed on the shelves for some of them for a very long time because they were priced fairly high. Like some of these third-party AMD GPUs, like the 6900 XT, were like $2,600, which from an MSRP of which from a starting MSRP of $999 really is quite the jump, but they were in stock. You could walk in and pay that price. And then various AMD models also were in stock, 6800, 6700 XT. Now the 6700 XT was closer to maybe $900 to $1,000, and the other models were pretty much anywhere in between from the low thousands to 15 or 1600. So we saw that happening first. Before, there was nothing on the shelves, even AMD GPUs. But after the pricing increase, people stopped buying them. And in combination with the Ethereum pricing going down, not to mention that AMD GPUs aren't really as profitable generally for mining as the Nvidia GPUs are, we're now starting to see more and more on the shelves, and the prices start to go down a little bit. Now, where this gets interesting and why I think it might be a good time to buy now, the Nvidia GPUs are also starting to follow that same pattern. At first, they're a little expensive, but at least they're on the shelves. And then after a little while, their pricing starts to go down as they remain on the shelves. And the Nvidia GPUs, mostly that I've seen, it's going to be like the newer, 3080 Ti, some 3060s, 3070 Ti. Those type of GPUs are the ones that I've seen a little bit more. Of course, the ones that have the Lite hash rate, most likely that's going to diminish their buying audience a little bit, especially because mining, as we said, right now is a little bit down. Not to mention that their profitability for the price is really not that good for these Lite hash rate models. So that certainly keeps a lot of people from buying them, and it does kind of focus a little bit on just the gamer that wants to use it for that purpose and won't care about mining. Now, so basically that's the logic that I'm using to say that now is actually one of the best times we've seen in a while to buy a GPU. And now I know some amongst you will say, why don't you wait even more for sort of everything to collapse and the pricing to return to normal, for the secondhand market to be flooded with cheap GPUs if cryptocurrency sort of tanks or something happens? Now, of course, that's also a possibility that could happen. If you wait long enough, these GPUs may go down. But as we've seen with recent trends during the last year, things are very unpredictable, and just as much as they have a chance of going back down and being more available, the same thing can happen for them to, balloon up and have a boom out of nowhere, and then you're really not going to get a GPU because they're going to be even more unavailable, and the pricing is definitely going to go up if something like that happens. It's hard to say where it's going to happen. It's hard to say if it will happen. If we look at 2017, when there was that sort of the Bitcoin went down, that happened. There was a mining boom, and then all of a sudden everything sort of disappeared, and then the secondhand market was flooded with cheap GPUs, and people were happy for a few years until recently. Now, it could take a long time. Who knows if we're in some sort of like a very stagnant type of atmosphere, but cryptocurrency definitely has a big effect on what's happening with these GPU pricing and availability trends. And as volatile as that is, that's why you can't really make an accurate prediction. So sometimes if you really need to build something, it's definitely better now because you can find a couple of GPUs, even if they're still a little bit overpriced, than it was maybe 2 or 3 months ago where there was absolutely nothing on the market. The only things in the secondhand market were priced like outrageously high. We're talking about many multiples the pricing of even what it is now. So that's why you have to sort of like hedge your bet. You're not going to be able to get the top or the bottom exactly, just like if you were investing or something like that. So you have to see if you really need a GPU and you see a 3080 Ti available at a pricing that's close to MSRP, or at least close enough that it's reasonable. That's why it may actually be a pretty good time to jump in. Of course, like I said, it's not optimal. It's not going to be the best time in history to buy a GPU. Potentially in the future, this is going to get better, that we hope. But until we get there, we could have a lot of ups and downs where GPUs now may seem like a little bit better than later on. A prime example is at the release of last year. I bet many people looked at this little bit inflated price of the 3080 on the secondhand market after it was released. And I say little bit because at that point, it was maybe like $1,000, $1,100, compared to the very salty $2,000 plus that it reached recently, the 3080 Founders Edition, as well as the third-party GPUs. So looking back then, those people that didn't want to spend $300 or $400 more for a 3080, and they said, let me wait for the future, these are going to go right back down to $699. Well, guess what? They went right back up to over $2,000 in the situation that we're in now. So a lot of those people, they could have bought a GPU back then. Even though availability was terrible in the beginning, it was a little bit better than it's been the last few months. The last few months were just absolutely nothing. So if you're looking towards the future, sometimes if you really want a GPU, the best time is actually going to be now. And even if it's not optimal, it may be your best chance at getting your hand at one of these newer GPUs without having to pay an outrageous amount, and actually get one that you may want to buy. Alright guys, so let me know what you think. Let me know if you would buy a GPU now, or if you're just going to hedge your bets and really wait until later on. Remember to subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.